Wild strawberries. What I get, I bring home to you, a dark handful, sweet-edged, dissolving in one mouthful. I bother to bring them for you, though they're so quickly over, pulpless, sliding to juice, a grainy rub on the tongue, and the taste's gone. If you remember, we were in the woods at wild strawberry time, and I was making a basket of dock leaves to hold what you'd picked. But the cold leaves unplaited themselves and slid apart and again unplaited themselves, until I gave up and ate wild strawberries out of your hands for sweetness. I lipped at your palm, the little salt edge there, the tang of money you'd handled. As we stayed in the wood, hidden, we heard the sound system below us calling the winners at Chepstow, faint as the breeze turned. The sun came out on us. The shade blotches went hazel. We heard names bubble like stock doves over the woods, as jockeys in stained silks gentled those sweat-dark, shuddering horses down to the walk. When you've got the plan of your life matched to the time it will take, but you just want to press, shift, break and print over and over, this is not what I was after, this is not what I was after. When you've finally stripped out the house with its iron-cold fireplace, its mouldings, its mortgage, its single skin walls, but you want to write in the plaster, this is not what I was after. When you've got the rainbow-clad baby in his state-of-the-art pushchair, but he arches his back at you and pulps his activity centre, and you just want to whisper, this is not what I was after. When the vacuum seethes and whines in the lounge and the waste disposal unit blows, when tenors settle in your account like snow hitting a stove, when you get a chat from your spouse about marriage and personal growth. When a wino comes to sleep on your porch, on your citizen's charter, and you know a hostel's opening soon, but your headache's closer, and you really just want to torch the bundle of rags and newspaper, and you'll say to the newspaper, this is not what we were after. This is not what we were after. Candle poem after Saad Yusuf. A candle for the ship's breakfast, eaten while moving southward through mild grey water, with the work all done. A candle for the house, seen from outside, the voices and shadows of the moment before coming home. A candle for the noise of aeroplanes going elsewhere, passing over, for delayed departures, embarrassed silences between people who love one another. A candle for sandwiches in service stations at 4 a.m. and the taste of coffee from plastic cups, thickened with sugar to keep us going. A candle for the crowd around a coffin and the terrible depth it has to fall into the grave dug for everyone, the deaths for decades to come, our deaths. A candle for going home and feeling hungry after saying we would never be able to eat the ham, the fruitcake, those carefully buttered buns. City lilacs. In crack-haunted alleys, overhangs, plots of sour earth that pass for gardens, in the space between wall and wheelie bin, where men with mobiles make urgent conversation, where bare-legged girls shiver in April winds, where a new mother stands on her doorstep and blinks at the brightness of morning, so suddenly born. In all these places, the city lilacs are pushing their cones of blossom into the spring to be taken by the warm wind. Lilac, like love, makes no distinction. it will open for anyone. Even before love knows that it is love, lilac knows it must blossom. In crack-haunted alleys, in overhangs, in somebody's front garden abandoned to crisp packets and cans, on landscape motorway roundabouts, in the depths of parks where men and women are lost in transactions of flesh and cash, where mobiles ring and the deal is done. Here the city lilacs release their sweet, wild perfume, then bow down, heavy with rain. Glad of these times. Driving along the motorway, swerving the packed lanes, I am glad of these times. Because I did not die in childbirth, because my children will survive me, I am glad of these times. I am not hungry. I do not curtsy. I lock my door with my own key, and I am glad of these times. Glad of central heating and cable TV, glad of email and keyhole surgery, glad of power showers and washing machines, glad of polio inoculations, glad of 3 weeks paid holiday, glad of smart cards and cashback, glad of 20 types of yogurt, glad of cheap flights to Prague, glad that I work. I do not breathe pure air, or walk green lanes, see darkness, hear silence, make music, tell stories, tend the dead in their dying, tend the newborn in their birthing, tend the fire in its breathing. But I am glad of my times, these times, the age we feel in our bones, our rage of tire music, speed annulling the peasant graves of all my ancestors. Glad of my hands on the wheel and the cloud of grit as it rises where JCBs move motherly, widening the packed motorway. Dolphins whistling. Yes, we believed that the oceans were endless, surging with whales, serpents and mermaids, demon-haunted and full of sweet voices to lure us over the edge of the world. We were conquerors, pirates, explorers, vagabonds, war makers, sea rovers. We ploughed the waves' furrow, made maps that led others to the sea's harvest. And sometimes we believed we heard dolphins whistling. Through the wine-dark waters we heard dolphins whistling. We were restless and the oceans were endless, rich in cod and silver-scaled herring. So thick with pilchard we dipped in our buckets and threw the waste onto the fields to rot. We were mariners, fishers of Iceland, Newfoundlanders, fortune makers, sea rovers. We ploughed the waves' furrow and earned a harvest, hungrily trawling the broad waters. And sometimes we believed we heard dolphins whistling. Through blue-green depths, we heard dolphins whistling. The catch was good, and the oceans were endless. So we fed them with runoff and chemical rivers, pair-fished them, scoured the seabed for pearls, and searched the deep where the sperm whale plays. We were ambergris merchants, fish farmers, cod bank strippers, coral crushers, reef poisoners. We ploughed the sea's furrow and seized our harvest, although we had to go far for it, for the fish grew small and the whales were strangers. Coral was grey and the cod banks empty, algae bloomed and the pilchards vanished, while the hewer's lookout was sold for a chalet. And the dolphins called their names to one another through the dark spaces of the water, as mothers call their children at nightfall and grow fearful for an answer. We were conquerors, pirates, explorers, vagabonds, war makers, sea rovers. We ploughed the waves' furrow, drew maps to lead others to the sea's harvest. And we believed that the oceans were endless, and we believed we could hear the dolphins whistling. You hear the leaves. It was very marked, the noise of the leaves.
Suddenly there was a lot of wind, wasn't there?
Well, the wind, they're really moving now. I love that noise.